am Carol Beckford, Sports Marketing Specialist. For all your in-depth news, views, and interviews on other financial information, tune in to CBX. Happy anniversary, CBX!
The time by Carrie Chris is 6 p.m. Time for CBX Business News. The business news headlines is brought to you by CBX Wealth Management, making more possible.
On the world stage at the United Nations General Assembly. And over on the global stage, Starbucks to cut 900 jobs and close stores in a $1 billion restructuring drive. Stay tuned as we unpack these stories and more right after.
Wealth is not simply counted in dollars or cents, but in the time we spend with love, in love, giving love. Wealth is not simply a means to an end. It is the means to live out loud. Wealth is more than money. It's about family, the memories you create, the legacy you leave behind, and your ability to enjoy life in the moment. It's also about seeing the CBX possibilities and seizing investment opportunities to achieve the future you want and deserve. Which is why CBX Wealth will focus on your investments so you can experience more. Because true wealth is truly more. To start investing today, call 876-926-7767.
The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments.
Back to CBX Business News. We begin with a global shift that could redefine the future of work. Artificial intelligence is on track to disrupt the global labor market in a massive way, with the World Economic Forum projecting that by 2027, 1 in 4 jobs worldwide will be affected. Delivering the keynote address at the 2025 Labor Market Forum at the AC Hotel by Marriott on Wednesday, Vice President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, JMEA, Mark Frankson, relayed these statistics while also noting that nearly half of the companies surveyed believe the technology will create more roles than it eliminates.
New roles are emerging from data analysts and robot maintenance specialists to AI operators, and nearly half of the companies surveyed by the World Economic Forum expect AI to be a net job creator. But the benefits, as we heard earlier, will not be automatic. No one will say, Jamaica, here is your share.
Frankson stressed that for Jamaica to benefit, the country must invest now in upskilling its workforce and equipping businesses to adapt.
Building a culture of lifelong learning, continuous upskilling will ensure that workers can move into new roles or, with the support of AI, transform existing roles so as to remain relevant and competitive.
That was Vice President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, Mark Frankson. Meanwhile, AI is already emerging as a double-edged sword for Jamaica's labor market. While it promises efficiency gains, it also poses threats to vulnerable workers. Planning Institute of Jamaica PIOJ Director General Dr. Wayne Henry warned that roles in repetitive functions are among the most at risk of displacement as automation accelerates.
Artificial intelligence provides the opportunity for new frontiers. However, there are accompanying challenges. One of the significant concerns is the displacement of jobs, especially sectors which are exposed to AI-driven automation, such as the business process outsourcing sector. AI is most likely to adversely impact jobs which are routine and repetitive in nature, for example, data entry and customer service roles.
He cautioned that without proper safeguards, the country would face widening inequality and deepening social divides.
At the same time, it is crucial that we address the ethical implications of AI in the labor market and the wider society. Issues such as bias in AI algorithms, data privacy, and the potential for increased inequality must be carefully managed.
That was Director General of the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, Dr. Wayne Henry. The Jamaica Chamber of Commerce is renewing its push to put digital tools and international partnerships at the center of business growth, with its new executive pledging to accelerate competitiveness and inclusion. Newly elected President Emile Leiber, a managing partner at Duncox, told members at Tuesday's annual general meeting that the chamber must shape the future by embracing technology, expanding global linkages, and tapping diaspora networks. Backing him is a cross-sector executive team that includes Martha Miller of National Rums of Jamaica, Jonathan Swire of Delta Supply, Jamie Ogilvy of Jamaica Broilers, and Janine Chen of Massey Distribution. EY Jamaica's John Butler takes on the role of honorary treasurer, while Rochelle Cameron and Deandra Butler were appointed as secretary and legal counsel, respectively. 8 directors were also elected, to include Andre Gooden of the Jamaica Stock Exchange and Marcia Woon Choi of MWC Associates Limited. And Jamaica's technology sector is making waves on the world stage. Amber Connect, the flagship of Amber Group, has been named one of the world's greatest brands of 2025, while founder and CEO Dushyant Savadia has earned the title Global Leader of the Year. The honors were presented at the 26th Asian Business and Social Forum in Dubai. Asia One magazine, which conferred the Leadership Award, praised Savadia as a force of transformation, citing this or his work across technology, entrepreneurship, and philanthropy. Accepting the award, Savadia says true leadership is measured not just in profits, but in how many lives we lift along the way. The recognition cements Jamaica's place on the global map as a rising hub for technology, innovation, and leadership. We go now to updates from the Bank of Jamaica on how the currency markets traded today. In Thursday's currency trading session, the US dollar is selling for $161.13, the Canadian for $117.66, the pound for $216.08, and the going rate for the euro is $193.73. We move to the latest updates from the JSE equities markets. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 109 stocks, of which 40 advanced, 50 declined, and 19 traded firm. Leading the winners are VM Investments, G West Corporation Ordinary Shares, Consolidated Bakeries Jamaica, and General Accident Insurance Company JA. While leading the decliners are Jamaica Public Service Company 7%, Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, Sterling Investments USD, and Kingston Properties. The JSE index declined by 1,968.79 points, or 0.62%, to close at 316,085.96 points. The junior market index declined by 19.50 points, or 0.58%, to close at 3,357.90 points.
And it's time for Market Education Feature, brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standard.
In today's Market Education Feature, let's talk about a term many of us are familiar with: remittances. A remittance is the transfer of money from one person or group to another, often across borders. Most commonly, it's when someone working overseas sends part of their earnings back home to support their family. For many households, these funds are a vital source of income. Remittances are usually sent electronically through banks or money transfer services such as Western Union or Wise. They are quick to process, though fees often apply. Families use these funds for essentials like housing, food, and education, and in some cases, they can help improve financial inclusion by opening the door to banking services.
The Market Education Feature was brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standards.
And that's it for the local news segment. Please stay with us. The regional news is up next.
The local news is brought to you by Diamond Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses. And Pulse Investments.
Caribbean Dreams, instant turmeric tea. What you put in is what you get out. What you put in is what you get out, yeah. Build up your body, boost up your brain. Take on the world now, say bye-bye pain. Caribbean Dreams, instant turmeric tea. Be good to you. Caribbean Dreams, instant turmeric tea. Distributed by Amalgamated Distributors Limited.
Welcome back. And now for the regional business news. Guyana is seizing the global stage to rebrand itself as both an energy powerhouse and a digital innovator. Speaking at the 80th anniversary session of the United Nations General Assembly on Wednesday, President Dr. Irfan Ali argued that his country is proof that oil wealth and climate stewardship can coexist. He pointed to Guyana's gas-to-energy project and a landmark low-carbon development strategy 2030.
Guyana is demonstrating that economic development and environmental stewardship can advance together by using natural gas as a bridge away from heavy fuel oil and investing in hydropower, solar, wind, and other renewables. We aim to lower electricity costs for our citizens and businesses, while ensuring universal access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy.
But Ali's boldest pitch was digital. He announced that Guyana will host one of the world's rare AI hyperscale data centers, a project he described as transformative for the Caribbean.
Guyana is quickly becoming one of the world's largest energy producers per capita, carefully balancing its green footprint with energy production. We'll use our vast gas reserves through a transformational gas-to-energy project. We'll use this resource, taking advantage of our strategic geographic location, to establish an AI hyperscale data center.
That was President of Guyana, Dr. Irfan Ali. Barbados is putting a price tag on climate resilience, with Prime Minister Mia Motley announcing that the island's Prosperity and Resilience Investment Plan will cost approximately US $11 billion over the next decade. Speaking at a UN Global Climate Summit on Wednesday, Motley outlined how Bridgetown is blending domestic resource mobilization with innovative finance to fund its nationally determined contributions.
Barbados's NDC sits within a framework of our investment plan for prosperity and resilience. We've estimated that this plan will cost us about $11.6 billion between now and the next decade, and that of that, $5 billion is likely to be public sector driven. We have determined that every citizen must share the burden in order to share the bounty of a clean and proper and fit environment. We ask our citizens as employees to be able, and as self-employed, to contribute 0.25% of all their wages and earnings. And we as government go the extra mile, and we will contribute 0.35% of GDP every year into a resilience and regeneration fund.
Motley also called for a legally binding global methane reduction agreement, arguing that voluntary pledges made in Dubai fall short.
The fossil fuel industry is not the enemy. It is the emissions. And if we have a legally binding methane agreement, we can buy ourselves time over the next 15 years or 20 years to give them sufficient time to continue to do super fast research to scale up decarbonizing technology to commercial level, while at the same time giving countries in the south the opportunity not to have to abandon the one thing that can finance their way to net zero.
That was Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Motley. In other news, Dominica has secured a major boost in regional connectivity with the launch of Contour Airlines' scheduled service into the Douglas Charles Airport. The US-based regional carrier will now operate 3 non-stop flights weekly to St. Thomas and 4 to San Juan, Puerto Rico, its first ever service in the Caribbean. Speaking during Wednesday's inaugural ceremony, Contour Airlines President Ben Monson said early bookings are already very strong, underscoring a pent-up demand for seamless links between Dominica, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico.
This is the first time that we're going to be operating regularly scheduled service in the Caribbean. We're so excited about the service. The initial bookings look great. We hope to continue to see that momentum build. Like was mentioned, we are flying 3 flights a week with nonstop service to St. Thomas.
That was Contour Airlines President Ben Monson. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt says the new direct flight from St. Thomas marks another step in Dominica's long-standing push to expand airlift.
The inaugural service from St. Thomas is another achievement in our efforts to enhance connectivity, which has long been a critical priority of our people and economy. It also demonstrates confidence in Dominica as a growing destination for both leisure and business travel.
That was Prime Minister of Dominica, Roosevelt Skerritt. It's now time for news from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 20 securities, of which 4 advanced, 6 declined, and 10 traded firm. Today's winners are A.S. Bryden & Sons Holdings, Point Lissa's Industrial Port Development Corporation, Calypso Macro Index Fund, and Scotia Trinidad and Tobago. While leading the losers are Trinidad and Tobago NGL, Massey Holdings, CIBC Caribbean Bank, and Guardian Holdings. Trading activity resulted in the following movements. The All-TNT Index declined by 6.66 points to close at 1,407.07. The Composite Index declined by 8.34 points to close at 973.78. The Cross-Listed Index declined by 1.44 points to close at 71.41. The SME Index remained at 100.64. And we take a short break, but please do stay with us. The international news segment is up next.
Let's all get fit. This summer set drip. Hip dips and split. Power in the mind, let's get healthy with it. Sometimes the body's so hard, but the body wants it. And then your head is so home, and it's so like this. So we gotta go 1, 2, 3. One more now. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. One more now. 1, 2, 3. One more now. 1, 2, 3, go!
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. In the international news today, the U.S. economy expanded at an annualized rate of 3.8% in Q2 of 2025, according to the final estimate from the Commerce Department, a notable upward revision from the previous 3.3% reading and the fastest growth since Q3 2023. The stronger performance was largely driven by a sharp upward revision in consumer spending, with personal consumption expenditures (PCE) rising 2.5%, up from 1.6% in the second estimate. The increase was led by the services spending, which jumped 2.6% compared to 1.2%, while goods consumption remained solid at 2.2%. Fixed investment was also revised higher, growing 4.4% compared to 3.3%, with gains across equipment 8.5%, intellectual property products 15%, and a slightly smaller decline in structures, down 7.5% compared to 8.9%. However, residential investment dropped further down at 5.1% compared to 4.7%. Government spending declined marginally less than previously estimated at 0.1% versus 0.2% down. On the trade front, net exports contributed less to growth as exports fell 1.8% versus 1.3%, and imports decreased 29.3%, slightly less than the earlier 29.8%. Meanwhile, the drag from private inventories deepened, subtracting 3.44 percentage points from GDP compared to the previous estimate of negative 3.29. Bitcoin dipped to around 111,346 on Thursday, down 1.74% after recent gains. Over the past month, it has shed 0.38%, though it remains up 71.1% year-on-year. Meanwhile, Ether fell to 3,977.07, down 4.25% on the day and 13.5% over 4 weeks, though still posting a 51.35% annual gain. Binance Coin BNB slid 3.26% to $986, losing 14.3% over the month, but up 65.6% year-on-year. The sell-off reflects a broad unwind of leveraged positions amid weakening risk appetite as investors reconsider whether the recent crypto rally can be sustained. Over 1.5 billion in crypto derivative bets were liquidated in recent days, intensifying the downward pressure. Compounding the technical stress, macro factors are also working against crypto sentiment. Despite a dovish Fed rate cut, expectations for future rate cuts have become more cautious, with interest rates still relatively elevated and inflation concerns persistent. Capital flows towards high-risk assets like crypto are on the strain. Analysts describe the current retreat as potentially healthy, a leverage wash that could clear out speculative excess and lay the groundwork for more stable footing. Still, further downside is possible if key support zones break and no strong catalyst appears to reverse sentiment. Starbucks announced Thursday a sweeping $1 billion restructuring effort that will include closing underperforming stores across North America and laying off approximately 900 non-retail employees as it seeks to reverse slowing growth and tighten operational discipline. Under the plan, Starbucks will shrink its company-operated store count by about 1% during fiscal year 2025, ending the year with roughly 18,300 locations in the US and Canada. CEO Brian Niccol, who joined Starbucks in late 2024 to lead a turnaround, said the review identified coffee houses were creating the desired ambiance or achieving financial goals was unlikely. Those will be shuttered. The job cuts target roles in support and corporate functions. Many open positions will not be filled. Affected employees will receive severance and other support, and Starbucks says it will attempt to offer transfers to nearby locations where possible. This is the second major layoff round in Niccol's tenure. Earlier this year, Starbucks cut 1,100 corporate roles as part of an initial push to simplify operations and reduce complexity. The restructuring comes amid a prolonged slump in comparable store sales. In a letter to employees, Niccol framed these moves as vital to refocusing resources on stores that deliver strong customer experience and financial returns. And those were your international business stories. After the break, do rejoin us for your recap.
So much book you need for high school?
I'll show you how to make sure you have all the money for my books and even some extra. It's called budgeting, Dad. Making a budget is the most important thing you can do to track your money. It keeps a record of how much you make, how much you spend, where you spend it, and most importantly, how much you can save. Write down all your income, write down all your expenses, see where you can cut down and allot more money to more important things, like saving.
entire production team, I'm Rochelle Moncrief. Thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.